My grandma used to give me $250 just because. Every Thanksgiving. This year, she looked lost. I can't find my purse, she said. I turned to the table. There wasn't a chair for her. My brother said, she eats early anyway. Then added, we took her bag, she forgets things. I hugged her, whispered, I'll fix this. I stood up, walked to my car, and canceled the Airbnb reservation and the catering I had fully paid. The next morning, they woke to locked doors, cold food, and a notice taped to the fridge. Changes have been made. I arrived with a bottle of wine and a quiet hope that this year would be different. Not better. I'd long given up on better, just a little more decent. Maybe a seat at the table. Maybe a moment of shared warmth. My grandma used to give me $250 every Thanksgiving, just because. She'd whisper like it was a secret. Sometimes it felt like the only time I was truly seen. This year, she looked lost. I can't find my purse, she said softly, halfway between the hallway and the dining room. She wasn't panicking, just confused in that way you only get when your world has quietly rearranged itself and no one told you. I followed her glance to the table. There wasn't a chair for her. Not a single place setting. No silverware. Not even a napkin. The seats were all filled. My brother, his kids, my sister-in-law's cousins, even the neighbors from 2 doors down. And there, near the kitchen, sat her purse. On a high shelf. Tucked out of reach like it didn't belong anymore. She eats early anyway, my brother shrugged, buttering a roll like he hadn't just exiled our grandmother. Then he added, we took her bag. She forgets things. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I hugged her instead, held her a little tighter than usual and whispered, I'll fix this. Because that's who I was to them. The fixer. I smiled, turned, and walked out the front door without a sound. Got into my car, sat there for a second, and then opened the Airbnb app. Canceled the 4-night reservation I'd prepaid. Then the catering order from Magnolia Table, 18 portions, all dietary needs considered. Gone with 2 taps. No one noticed. No one followed. No one called. The next morning, they woke to locked doors, cold food, and a piece of paper taped to the fridge in clean black font. Changes have been made. It wasn't about the chair. It never was. That was just the final signal flare, the proof that they'd stopped pretending. Because when I stood there watching Grandma wander through a full house without a seat, it hit me. This wasn't an accident. This was architecture. A family that had rebuilt its foundation around exclusion, and I'd poured the concrete myself. I started remembering. Not in the sentimental way people do when they feel nostalgic. I remembered with surgical precision. The birthday dinner when I paid for the whole tab, all $1,800 of it, and my mom raised a toast to my brother for bringing us all together. The New Year's party where they used my house because it was more spacious, trashed the guest room, and left me cleaning glitter out of the bathroom vent for 2 weeks. The wedding I funded without being in a single photo. We thought you wouldn't want the attention, my sister said. Then posted 27 group shots on Instagram. None with me. The time I upgraded my parents' Wi-Fi, fixed their failing printer, replaced the porch light, and then got a thank you card addressed to my brother's kid for being such a good helper. It wasn't about gratitude. It was about erasure. And I had let it happen systematically. Over years. I helped, supported, gave, showed up. And in return, I was tolerated at best. At worst, forgotten. But Thanksgiving was different. Thanksgiving was Grandma. She was the last one who looked at me like I was whole. Not useful. Not obligated. Just enough. That's why it broke something in me. Seeing her set aside like a misplaced coat. Watching the woman who taught me how to make cornbread stuffing stand silently by while people she raised took her place at the table. My brother didn't even flinch. She eats early anyway. That sentence played on loop for hours after I left. She eats early anyway. Just like, you don't have kids, might as well pay for the wedding. Just like, we figured you'd be fine in the kitchen. Just like, don't be dramatic. 100 tiny rephrasings of the same truth. You don't matter. Unless we need something. Then you're a hero. I used to believe that maybe if I gave enough, they'd finally let me sit at the table like I belonged. That they'd say thank you and mean it. That they'd see me as part of something, not just a financial ecosystem designed to make their lives easier. But that chair, the one that wasn't there, snapped the last wire. Because they didn't forget. They decided. Deliberately. Quietly. Rehearsed it, probably. My mom making her signature yam casserole, my sister placing name cards, my dad choosing the wine, and not one of them said, wait, where does Grandma sit? They chose to remove her. The same way they've removed me over and over. Not with direct cruelty. No. with logistical adjustments, polite omissions, rearranged priorities. But the message was always the same. You are not one of us. I realized, in that moment, I wasn't excluded from the family. I was extracted from it, like a resource. Used. They don't see Grandma anymore. They see the purse she forgets. They don't see me. They see the catering confirmation, the digital locks I set up, the mortgage payment they don't have to think about. That's when the clarity hit. I was never the guest. I was the infrastructure. And I was done letting them walk on me like floorboards. They built their holidays on my back. Planned parties with my card. Ate meals I paid for in houses I maintained, using Wi-Fi I installed. All while mocking me to my face. But no more. This Thanksgiving, I left the house. But more importantly, I left the system. And when I whispered to Grandma, I'll fix this, I didn't just mean the day. I meant everything. Because what they didn't know is that the locks, the food, the calendar, the transport, even the speaker system, it all ran through me. I left quietly. But they were about to find out what absence feels like when you've mistaken a person for a power line. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of anger. Not even out of pain. I didn't toss or cry or write a long letter to myself in the dark. No, I just sat still, calm, staring at the ceiling as one sentence echoed in my head like a quiet alarm. They removed her chair on purpose, and I knew what came next. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to plead for an explanation. I wasn't going to send a dramatic family group text, because I had finally understood my role and, more importantly, the exit strategy. They didn't see me as blood. They saw me as support. So I began the process of technical withdrawal, not out of revenge, but out of principle. You don't burn down the power grid when people abuse it. You just shut it off, zone by zone. And I started with the basics. 7:12 a.m., catering system, terminated. The Magnolia table order, gourmet Thanksgiving brunch for 20, was under my corporate account. Paid, confirmed, and scheduled for 11:45 a.m. I logged in, went to the Orders tab, and clicked Cancel Order. No refund. They'd missed the cancellation window. Didn't matter. I considered it a sunk cost. Their brunch would arrive cold, with no one to greet the driver. Or maybe not at all, depending on how much I felt like rerouting the delivery to a nearby shelter. I made the call. Told the driver to bring it 2 miles north. They'll be waiting out front, I said. He thanked me. They never would have. 8:03 a.m., door access and security, deactivated. The front door smart lock? Mine. Installed under my own business license. The app permissions? All routed through me. The access codes? Reversible. One tap, and they were locked inside. Another, and they lost override control. The house had 4 exit points. Only 2 of them weren't wired into the system. I left those alone. I'm not cruel. But the front door? The garage? The fancy patio slider with fingerprint recognition? Gone. Later, my brother would try to reset the system. He'd realize he didn't have admin rights. He'd call the installer. The installer would tell him, "We don't have your name on file." I know this because I wrote the script myself. 8:46 a.m., Wi-Fi suspended. No connection. No streaming. No thermostat control. No YouTube for the kids. No Spotify for the dinner playlist. No Ring camera feed. No Alexa for kitchen timers. I disabled the mesh network node by node. Left them in digital silence. I imagined my dad standing in the hallway, router in hand, shaking it like a snow globe, wondering why rebooting didn't work this time. 9:15 a.m., vehicle charging system, shut down. My brother had an electric car. Guess who installed the EV charger in the garage? Guess whose name was on the service contract? Guess who forgot that? Not my problem anymore. 9:42 a.m., subscriptions, revoked. I went into my banking app. Found every shared service they were siphoning off me like silent beneficiaries. Netflix, 5 profiles. Hulu, Grandma's favorite shows. Disney Plus, for the kids. HBO Max, my sister-in-law's addiction. DoorDash Pass. Amazon Prime. Password Manager. Cloud storage. Gone. I changed every password, removed every shared email, every device ID. By the time they realized, they'd be halfway through typing a complaint into the chat box, only to get bounced out. 10:08 a.m., calendar event removal. I opened Google Calendar. Deleted every shared event labeled family dinner, birthday barbecue, cousin's game night, dad's retirement plan, and, most recently, Christmas setup, bring extra chairs. No more chairs. No more setups. I didn't decline the invites. I deleted myself from the system. 10:40 a.m., Financial infrastructure detachment. This part took longer. The mortgage? Canceled my cosigner authority. Froze the assistance payments. The joint card I helped Grandma open, the one she forgot the PIN to? I rerouted it to my name alone and transferred the remaining balance to her new personal account. I'd set it up the week before, quietly, after noticing irregular activity. Turns out my brother had been using it. For groceries, he'd said. That grocery order included a $400 wireless speaker. On sale. For himself. Not anymore. 11:22 a.m., Grandma. I picked her up. Not from the house. From the sidewalk. She'd stepped outside with her coat halfway buttoned and her purse clutched like a life preserver. I thought I'd go for a walk, she said. But we both knew the truth. I opened the car door, and she climbed in. I didn't say where we were going. She didn't ask. We ended up at a small bistro 3 blocks from her old apartment, the one she lived in before they moved her into the guest room and started tracking her medication like she was an overdue library book. We ordered lunch. She told me about the time she took a bus to Kansas just to see her sister's wedding. Alone. No GPS. Just a paper map and a peanut butter sandwich in her purse. You don't need an invitation, she said. You just show up. That's when I knew she remembered. 12:35 p.m., the notice. While she finished her tea, I pulled out the envelope. Clean white paper. Printed in bold font. Changes have been made. No signature. No explanation. Just one sentence, centered on the page like a courtroom verdict. I handed it to the delivery driver. Paid him double. Told him, stick it to the fridge. Don't ring the bell. Just walk in. They'll hear you. He nodded. And walked away with the kind of smile you give someone when you don't understand, but respect it anyway. 1:14 p.m., the final logout. Back at my apartment, I sat down and opened the admin portal to my company's client infrastructure. My parents' house was registered under an internal tag, Family, Hub 01. I opened the drop-down. Clicked Deactivate. Confirm twice. The window flashed. This client is no longer active. I closed my laptop. Made tea. Sat on the couch. Listened to the silence. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't a tantrum. This was restoration. For too long, I let them mistake kindness for weakness. For too long, I confused love with endurance. But this Thanksgiving, I learned the difference between being part of something and being used by it. They didn't lose the catering, or the tech, or the comfort. They lost me. And when they finally read that line taped to the fridge, changes have been made, I hope they understood. It wasn't about the chair. It was about everything that led up to it. They didn't call me right away. That was the first surprise. Not a single text. Not a missed call. Not even a passive-aggressive emoji from my sister. Just silence. At first, I thought maybe they hadn't seen the note. Maybe the driver hadn't followed instructions. But then, around 3:26 p.m., my phone lit up. Not a call. A photo. A blurry image of the fridge. Zoomed in on the paper I'd taped there. Changes have been made. Someone, probably my brother, had circled it in red marker. Like it was a threat. And then the messages started. First, my mom. This is childish. You're ruining the day for everyone. Then my dad. You've made your point. Come unlock the doors. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just demand, wrapped in accusation. I didn't respond. So they tried again. Grandma is upset. You didn't have to make it a scene. We didn't exclude you. We were just trying to make things simpler. Ah, yes. Simpler. That's what they always called it when they erased me. When they left my name off invites, it was simpler. When they used my money without asking, it was simpler. When they let someone else sit in the chair I'd paid for, simpler. Simpler for them. Always for them. Then came my sister's message. It didn't even pretend to be diplomatic. You've always been dramatic. I've said it for years. Grandma doesn't even know what's going on. You manipulated her. This is not okay. That one made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was desperate. They weren't trying to understand. They were trying to reframe. Rewrite the story as fast and as violently as they could. They knew what I had taken. And they were terrified of what else might still be tied to me. So they did what narcissists always do when control slips. They went on offense. 5:11 p.m., voicemail number 1. From my dad. Rage in his voice. Controlled, but cracking. If this is about not getting a thank you, grow up. We've all helped each other in this family. You're not special. I listened to it once. Then again. Then deleted it. 6:38 p.m., group chat meltdown. The old family group thread I hadn't muted yet lit up. My mom. This isn't how we raised you. My brother. What is wrong with you? My sister. You're unstable. Cousin Jenna, who was never involved until gossip smelled juicy. This is beyond toxic. Then, silence. Then, a message from an unknown number, a burner, maybe. Or a cousin too cowardly to attach their name. No one wants you here. They said I was the problem. I screenshotted it. Didn't reply. 7:03 p.m., call from the landline. I didn't even know they still had one. Grandma's voice, trembling. Sweetheart, I don't know what's going on. They said you're mad. They said you're cutting us off. I swallowed hard. Told her we'd talk tomorrow. That she was safe. That I'd explain everything. That I loved her. And that none of this was her fault. Because that's the part they never understood. This wasn't about revenge. This wasn't about rage. This was the collapse of a system built on silent exploitation. And now that it was gone, they weren't grieving. They were flailing. 8:42 p.m. Final text from Dad. You've made your choice. Don't expect to come crawling back. That's when I finally replied. One sentence. I didn't crawl away. I walked. The next morning, the emails started. They'd gone public. Or tried to. My mom sent a long post to her Bridge Club thread, playing the victim. My sister posted an Instagram story full of Bible quotes about forgiveness and betrayal. One slide even had my face, cropped from an old family photo, blurred out like I died. My brother told his coworkers that I'd had a breakdown. Went off his meds again, he said, according to a mutual friend. None of it mattered. Because unlike before, this time, I was documenting everything. Screenshots. Messages. Voicemails. I wasn't going to defend myself. I was going to preserve the record. Because eventually, the pity train would run out of fuel. And all they'd be left with were receipts they didn't know I'd been saving. That weekend, my cousin Ellie called. She whispered into the phone like we were fugitives. They're losing it. They keep talking in circles. Saying you're dangerous. That you're planning something worse. Then she said the part that stuck. But you're not doing anything. And that's what scares them the most. Because silence, real silence, after a system collapses, that's not peace. That's power shifting. And they could feel it. For the first time, they weren't just locked out of their tech. They were locked out of me. And they had no idea how to survive without access. They could handle silence. They could even handle being cut off. But they couldn't handle this. Being exposed. Because in their version of the story, I was the unstable one. The black sheep. The martyr with a persecution complex. Easy to dismiss. Easy to whisper about. Until the whispers stopped being private. It started with a screenshot. I posted it on a quiet Sunday afternoon. No caption. No hashtags. Just one image. A photo of the fridge. And under it, the list of what I'd shut down. The systems. The catering. The access. All of it. Then I documented everything for myself. The one where my sister called me a failure. The voicemail from my dad telling me I'm not special. The message blaming Grandma's confusion on elder mistreatment. And then, a side-by-side of the Thanksgiving table with no chair for her. No place setting. No acknowledgement. The image hit harder than I expected. Within an hour, the post had over 1,400 shares. By evening, a local community page reposted it. The caption was simple. When your family forgets the one who built the table. My inbox exploded. Not with hate. With recognition. People wrote. This is my mom. She did the same to me. My brother called me unstable too. After I paid his rent for a year. I thought I was crazy for walking away. Thank you for showing this. And then came the avalanche. Screenshots from friends of friends. People I barely knew forwarding me posts from my own family. My mom trying to spin the narrative on Facebook. Some people turn their backs on family and call it healing. We gave him everything. This is how he repays us. She didn't name me directly. But then my sister commented. We didn't exclude you. We just prioritized people who needed it more. And there it was. They said it out loud, maybe for the first time. Documented. Screenshotted. Dated. I didn't reply. I didn't fight. Instead, I sent every screenshot to my lawyer. Told him to hold it, not for litigation. For insurance. Because I knew what was coming next. They'd try to flip the script. So I flipped it first. My parents had been using my company's infrastructure, back-end security, firewalls, smart systems, for over 8 years. For free. Because they were family. But now they were publicly claiming I was unstable. Untrustworthy. Dangerous. So I sent an email to the family firm's IT vendor, a firm I had personally on board 3 years ago. Effective immediately, terminate all support accounts connected to my credentials. Please confirm full removal of my access and reissue license responsibility to internal admin staff. 10 minutes later, I got a response. Confirmed. New invoice has been issued to original account holders. They hadn't paid for software in years. They were about to get a quarterly bill for $6,400. Someone forwarded me a LinkedIn post. It was from a guy my brother used to work with. Apparently, the story had reached him through his wife's friend, who saw the screenshots. He wrote, "Tech people, always pay attention to who owns your infrastructure. Especially if you keep calling them. They said I wasn't well again, while coasting on their licenses. I didn't have to say a word. My silence was louder than their spin. The grandma factor. By Tuesday, my grandmother's old bridge partner reached out. Said she'd seen the photos. Said she hadn't been invited to Thanksgiving for space reasons, same excuse they gave grandma. So I sent her the photos too. The seating chart. The folded napkins. The chair that wasn't there. 3 days later, she posted them in a private senior Facebook group with the caption, 'They forgot her. Her own children. But her grandson didn't.' The post went viral. Over 3,000 shares. A national aging care advocacy group reached out and asked if they could repost it for a campaign on elderly dignity. I gave permission. With grandma's blessing. She cried when I showed her. Not because she was sad. Because she said, I thought I was invisible. Turns out they were just blind. That Thursday, I got a call from a local journalist. She'd seen the story. Asked if I wanted to comment. I said, only off record. Just make sure the part about the chair stays in. She promised it would. When the article dropped, it had no names. No specifics. Just a title. The table was full, but they forgot the one who built it. My mom read it. I know because she sent me a 6-paragraph email filled with phrases like, "You've humiliated us," and "You've always loved attention," and "You think you're better than us." I didn't open it. I just forwarded it to my lawyer. And then I blocked her address. I didn't want revenge. I wanted reality. For the first time, everyone saw the truth, and not because I screamed it. Because I documented it. They built a lie. I just showed the receipts. And in that moment, the power shifted. Not because I exposed them, but because I no longer needed to explain anything. They showed up 2 weeks later. No warning. No announcement. Just appeared outside my building like nothing happened. My dad wore a jacket I'd bought him 2 birthdays ago. My sister clutched a binder, probably filled with explanations. And my mom? She held a pie. Of course she did. They always led with food when words weren't enough. I didn't invite them in. We stood in the lobby. Cold tile. Fluorescent light. Perfect. My mom went first. We just want to talk. Just talk. She didn't cry. Not this time. Her voice was small, but practiced. My dad cleared his throat. You made your point. You were right. Maybe we didn't appreciate enough. Then my sister, soft. Let's just reset. Please. I looked at them. 3 faces I'd spent years chasing approval from. Buying silence for. Funding comfort with. And suddenly, I felt nothing. Not anger. Not victory. Just distance. So I said the words I'd waited my whole life to say. I didn't leave you because of the money. I left because when you looked at me, all you ever saw was what I could give you. They didn't respond. Just stared. Then I turned, opened the door to the elevator, and stepped in. Before it closed, I added, "You didn't lose the dinner. You lost me." And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I owed them anything. Not an explanation. Not a reconciliation. Not a chair. Nothing.